Here's something slightly embarrassing. I've cried more at fictional sports than real ones, and I played real ones. Football, cricket, years of it. But there's something about an anime that can take a sport, slow it down, and show you exactly what's at stake in just a single moment. It hits a nerve the live version rarely reaches. So here are 20 sports anime that earned every tier ranked.
何にでもマジになれんだな。よろしくお願いいたします。やってみたい。3、2、1。帰ってきたぜ、俺のベストプレイススケーパー。
Skateboarding shouldn't work as anime. There's no scoreboard, no clear win condition, just guys flinging themselves down a mountain at night for the love of it. And somehow, that's exactly why it lands. Reki is a kid who's good but not gifted, which is a rarer protagonist than you'd think, and his friendship with Langa carries the whole thing on its back. The race down S are pure adrenaline, animated with the loose, springy energy that makes concrete feel like water. I was surprised how much the show cares about the gap between the two of them, one who has to grind for every trick, and one who picks it up just like breathing. That ache underneath the neon is the real reason I stuck around. Daft, gorgeous, and a little heartbreaking.
走るの好きなの？僕何もないから。この世界にはすごく簡単なルールがあるんだ。大抵のことは100メートルを誰よりも速く走れば。
10 seconds. That's the entire event. A sprinter trains for years, and the thing they're judged on is over before you finished a sentence. I mean, I find that genuinely terrifying, and 100 meters lives inside that terror. It's the rare sports story built around the loneliest discipline there is. No teammates to cover you, no second half to claw it back. It's just you and the lane. The central question it keeps circling is whether running is something you're born with or something you build, and it refuses to give you a comfortable answer. There's a clean, almost cold precision to how it frames the body in motion, every muscle doing its quiet job. I won't pretend it's a comfort to watch. It's the kind of thing that leaves you a bit hollowed out and thoughtful. But if you've ever wondered what it costs to be fast, watch this.
次のレースは俺の25年。そして今、100円。いのりさん。はい。俺はいのりさんに負けない。え？
Picture a coach who failed, a skater who washed out before he ever made it, now broke and drifting, given one last shot in the form of an 11-year-old that nobody else will take. That's where Medalist opens, and it's a smarter hook than most figure skating shows manage. Inori wants to compete, but she started late. Everyone around her treats that as a polite reason to say no. The show's really about the two of them refusing to accept the verdict the world has already handed down to them, and that's something I resonated with, you know. I expected pretty ice and got something with surprising teeth. The anxiety of a kid who knows she's behind, and the desperation of an adult betting his last chance on her. The skating animation is lovely, but it's the partnership that actually got me. Two people who've been told no, deciding together to find out. Quietly, one of the best things I've watched.
超いい名前じゃん。
ボールルームダンスはダンススポーツって言って世界選手権だってあるんだから。
僕も戦国さんみたいに試合とか出られるプロに。
Competitive dance had never crossed my mind as a thing I'd care about, and then Tatara Fujita got dragged into a studio, and I was gone. Here's a directionless kid with nothing he's good at, who stumbles into a world where posture, footwork, and the trust between two partners decide everything. I will tell you this though, I was hooked by the way the show animates movements, limbs stretched into possible lines, the camera swooning around the floor like it's intoxicated by the spectacle. Yes, the character proportions go genuinely strange in places, and I'm not going to defend that, but when a routine clicks, when two dancers lock into one another and the music swells, it's electric in a way few sports shows reach. It taught me that ballroom is contact sport fought in formal wear. I still think about that finale on the floor.
一つ胸を張って好きだと言えるものがあれば僕は変われる。ボールルームへようこそ。
己のゴールを何よりの喜びとし、その瞬間のためだけに生きよ。それがストライク。
Okay, so football. Everyone loves it, the World Cup's going on, happy days. But what if a football team's biggest problem was that everyone was just too nice? Blue Lock answers that with a program that locks 300 strikers in a facility and pits them against each other because Japan has decided the cure for mediocrity is manufactured ego. It's nasty, selfish, and weirdly compelling. Isagi is our way in, a decent player learning to weaponize the ruthlessness he always suppressed, and the show frames every match like a survival game where a teammate is just a tool you haven't haven't used yet. I've got real arguments with its philosophy, which I think is the point, but the visual presentation is relentless, all jagged energy and devouring metaphors. It's the most divisive thing on this list, and I respect it for that. You'll either find it thrilling or repellent. I landed somewhere uncomfortably in between and couldn't stop watching it.
常識を捨てろ。世界一のエゴイストでなければ世界一のストライカーにはなれない。
こんなの誰も教えてくれなかった。
それはまさに全身全霊打者をねじ伏せに行った本能の一球。
I'm not big on baseball, I'll admit that. However, this anime is the one that taught me how long baseball really is. Diamond no Ace doesn't rush a single thing. It lets you live inside Seido High across seasons until the bench players feel like flatmates and a single pitch can carry the tension of an hour-long episode. Sawamura is a loud, scrappy southpaw with a freak natural movement on his ball and almost no control, and the slow grind of him earning a spot is the spine of this whole show. I love that it refuses to hand him the ace number. He has to fight a teammate for it, and the show treats that rivalry with total seriousness. It's a commitment, no question. It's not a weekend binge. But few sports anime make a team feel as lived in as this one. By the end, Seido was mine too.
日本サッカーの未来は育成にある。光ってくれるなら俺たちは必ず見つけ出す。
Most football anime are about the striker, the one who scores and gets carried off the pitch. Ashi is about the kid learning to see the whole board. Ashi though arrives at a youth academy as a raw, instinctive forward and slowly gets rebuilt into something rarer. A player whose gift is spatial awareness, reading the field like a map nobody else can see. I adore how studious the show is. It actually explains positioning, why a pass goes where it does, and what a coach is screaming about without ever feeling like homework. The youth system gives it real skates too. These are kids who can be cut, whose dreams actually have an expiry date. It rewired how I watch real matches. I now nod sagely at off-the-ball movement like I understand it. That's the mark of a sports show that actually teaches.
東京シティエスペリオンユース背番号33。
別に無理にとは言わねえよ。でもそうなったらてめえのポケットの中のそのいかがわしいものはどう説明すんだよ。
Forget heart, forget teamwork. One Outs is a baseball anime about a hustler who treats the sport like a poker table and is deliciously cynical. Dokuchi is a gambler first and a pitcher second, signed under a contract where he loses money for every run he allows and earns for every out, so the whole game becomes a psychological con. This is from the mind behind Liar Game, and it shows in every cold, calculating frame. There's barely a wholesome bone in his body, and that's the appeal. Watching Dokuchi dismantle arrogant batters and corrupt owners through sheer reading of human weakness is the kind of villain protagonist fun the genre rarely allows. The animation is dated and the budget is clearly thin. I mean, but that doesn't matter here. The mind games carry it. If you like your sports served ice cold and devious, then start here.
徳地東和は今日も投げる。投げ続ける。小島との決着をつけるために。リカオンズ優勝のために。
日本の馬娘はよく知りませんが、世界の広さを知ることになる。
それって
始まるでジャパンカップが
Right, I need you to stay with me on the premise for this one, okay? Because it does sound unhinged. This is a franchise in which legendary Japanese racehorses are reincarnated as schoolgirls who compete in track meets. I know what I just said, I know how that sounds, okay? But Cinderella Grey, the spin-off centered on Oguri Cap, is the one that won me over completely. Strip away the surrounding silliness and what's left is a startlingly sincere underdog story about a country girl with no pedigree and freakish natural talent, clawing her way up against thoroughbreds who were bred to beat her. The racing sequences hit with real weight. Every overtake is earned. I went in fully prepared to mock it and came out quietly invested in a horse girl's career trajectory, which isn't a sentence I actually expected to say out aloud, but well, here I am saying it. If you can get past the concept, there's a proper sports drama humming.
私のエネミーは3人。トニー、タマモ、そして
Some shows follow a season, major follows a life. We meet Goro as a small boy and we leave him as a grown man, and across that span, baseball is the one constant thread holding everything together through grief, injury, reinvention, the lot. I can't think of another sports anime with this kind of scope, this willingness to let its hero fail, rebuild and age. The early arcs land hardest for me, the ones about a kid processing loss with a ball in his hand because he doesn't have the words yet. It's not flawless, the run is enormous and some stretches do sag, but the cumulative weight of watching someone grow up is something most shows can't even attempt. By the final innings, I felt like I'd known him forever, and that's a strange, lovely thing for an anime to pull off. I wouldn't have believed that a card game could feel like a martial art until this show made me believe it. Karuta is the sport here. Players lunging to slap the right card the instant a poem is read aloud, and Chihayafuru turns that into something fierce and balletic. Hands blurring, milliseconds decide everything. But the show engine is the three of them. Chihaya, blazingly competitive, and the two boys orbiting her, one present and one gone. The love triangle aches because the show takes it as seriously as the matches. What stays with me is its argument that obsession can be a kind of grace, that pouring yourself into something this niche, this all-consuming, is its own beautiful answer to life. I came out of curiosity and felt genuinely moved by people who care this much. Then it ended without a proper finish, and that still stings. Just taking a quick second to remind you to please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Thank you.
3歳から振ってるんだ。ほとんど毎日福島バッティングセンターで100キロ以上の球を
Adachi could write a baseball manga in his sleep, and Cross Game is him fully awake. It opens with a loss so quiet and devastating that it reframes everything after it, and I'm not going to spoil what, only that it happens early and it lingers over the whole series like the weather. This is the gentlest sports story I know. Go and Aoba circling each other for years, baseball and grief and unspoken feeling all braided together so tightly that you can't even separate them. There's no shouting here, no dramatic narration explaining the stakes, just the slow accumulation of seasons, a picture growing into a promise he made to someone who isn't there to see it. It's romance disguised as sport, or maybe the other way round. A few things this understated have ever hit me this hard.
ずっと大嫌いだったんだから。
初めての記録会。そこで目の当たりにする力の差。
10 university students share a run-down house. One of them quietly decides that they're all going to run the most punishing relay race in the country, despite the fact that most of them have never even trained a day in their life. Now, that setup does sound like a comedy, and it is at first. Then, Run with the Wind does something that I just wasn't ready for. It makes me believe in each of these ordinary people, one by one, until I cared about all 10 of them. Gakeru and Haiji anchor it, the gifted runner and the schemer with a hidden wound, but it's the strugglers who got me. The smoker, the manga addict, the twins. The Hakone Ekiden finale is paced like a marathon itself, exhausting and transcendent. I wasn't watching a race so much as a group of friends finding out who they could be. Beautiful, unhurried, and quietly profound.
俺、ここじゃペコで通ってんだ。
なんで笑わねえの？卓球なんてどうせ死ぬまでの暇つぶしです。
努力なんて才能のないやつがするもんさ。
This looks like nothing else, and that's the first thing anyone tells you, and they're right, aren't they? Yuasa's adaptation throws out clean lines and pretty faces for sketchy, warping, comic panel visuals that feel alive in a way polish never could. But the look is just the door. Inside is one of the sharpest character studies that the medium's ever produced. 5 boys orbiting a table tennis table, each chasing or fleeing the question of whether talent is enough. Smile is a prodigy who can't be bothered to win. Pico is a loudmouth who's lost the joy, and the climb back toward the hero will save us is told through sport, but reaching at something much larger. I've never seen a show say so much with so few words. It treats table tennis as a lens on the whole human condition, singular. There's genuinely nothing else like it.
鏡のゾーンスピードに合わせた超速連携。ダイレクトドライブゾーン。
basketball. But everyone has a superpower, and nobody will admit it's basically a battle shonen. I mean that in a fond way, by the way, okay? Kuroko is a brilliant inversion. The protagonist, whose entire gift is being invisible, the Phantom Six-Man who makes everyone around him better by vanishing. Pair him with Gagami's raw firepower, and you get an odd couple engine that drives the whole series. The Generation of Miracles are gloriously over-the-top antagonists, each one a wall that feels genuinely unbeatable until Seirin finds the crack. Is it grounded? Absolutely not. People score from the other end of the court with their eyes closed, but it commits so hard to its own escalating madness that resistance is pointless. I rolled my eyes at the first impossible shot and was on my feet by the 10th. Sometimes you just don't want realism, do you? Sometimes you want the zone. A bullied, gentle kid asks a single question. What does it mean to be strong? And he spends the next several hundred episodes punching his way towards an answer. That's Hajime no Ippo, and it remains the boxing anime by which I measure all the others. Ippo is impossibly easy to root for. A softie with a sledgehammer in each glove, and the Gamogawa gym around him stacked with characters I'd happily watch a separate show about. Takamura alone is worth the entry. The matches are where it transcends though. Each opponent gets a full backstory until you almost don't want Ippo to win, and then the Dempsey roll comes and you're on your feet anyway. It balances genuine comedy, brutal physicality, and real heart better than anything in its weight class. The fight against Sendo still gives me chills, an absolute titan of the genre. Everything you love about sports anime. The rival who becomes a brother, the doomed weight cut, the punch that lands like a thesis statement, a huge amount of it traces back here. Ashita no Jo is the foundation, a story from another era about a violent, aimless boy from the slums who finds purpose in the ring under a broken down old trainer. I won't pretend the animation hasn't aged, I mean it definitely has, but the emotional architecture is timeless, and there's a death partway through that genuinely reshaped what manga believed it was allowed to do. And then there's that ending. I'd heard about the final images for years before I saw it, and it still knocked the wind out of me when I did see it. Few stories about sport are this much about morality. If you want to understand why the whole genre hits the way it does, start with Jo. Before everything else, there was a delinquent who joined the basketball team to impress a girl. Sakuragi Hanamichi is one of the great comedic creations in anime, an arrogant, red-haired idiot with monstrous athletic gifts and zero idea how to use them, and watching him fall genuinely in love with the sport he joined as a joke is the warmest arc on this list. The slam dunk secret is restraint. The legendary final game against Sano, brought to staggering life in the first slam dunk film, leans on near silence at its peak, letting squeaking shoes and hell breath carry attention no narration could. It's funny, then it's thrilling, then without warning it's profound. I went in expecting a comedy and came out understanding why an entire country fell for basketball because of one manga. Gold standard. Decades on, nothing has truly surpassed it. Made for the 50th anniversary of a boxing legend, and you feel that reverence in every grimy face. Megalo Box drops you into a near-future underworld where fighters strap on mechanical gear to amplify their punches, and our nameless nobody throws his away to fight Bear. Gearless Joe. The aesthetic is the whole pitch, deliberately scuffed like a worn VHS or dusty browns and flickering neon, a show that looks like it was dug out of a forgotten decade. Underneath the style is a lean, hungry story about a man with nothing climbing toward a champion who has everything. It doesn't reinvent the underdog underdog arc so much as to strip it down to the bone and let it bleed. The soundtrack alone could carry this one, cool in an almost effortless way, and it earns the swagger. This one just oozes attitude. Haikyu is, for me, the most complete sports anime ever made, the one that gets everything right at once. A short kid who refuses to accept that height should decide his fate, a setter built like a control freak, and a high school volleyball team that somehow makes a sport about not letting a ball touch the floor feel like the most important thing in the world. What sets it apart is generosity. Every opponent is a full person with their own dream, so you end up grieving for whoever loses. The animation peaks at heights the genre rarely touches, rallies stretched into breathless, weightless suspense. It made me care about a sport I'd never watched, then made me love the people playing it. I finished it and I miss it daily. Perfect. Genuinely perfect. I have a recap video on my channel, you can check it out. That's the list. I'm bracing for the comments because nobody agrees on this stuff and that's the fun of it, isn't it? So go on, tell me, what's the entry that I missed? Drop your number one down below. And if you made it this far, you already know the drill. Catch you in the next one.